There is a silent, invisible habit that keeps millions of people locked in a life far below their potential. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself. But it quietly steals your time, your energy, and your power. It disguises itself as logic, safety, or even self-care. And yet, it's the one habit that's holding you back from greatness, keeping you stuck, and slowly draining your ability to rise above average. This habit has many names, but at its core, it is mental comfort. The subtle desire to stay mentally safe, to avoid effortful thinking, to dodge responsibility for your thoughts. It's the default setting of your mind when left unchallenged. And it has more power over your life than any external obstacle. People think it's bad luck, lack of time, or lack of talent that holds them back. But the real issue is this: most people never train their minds. They let their thoughts wander, react, and settle. They avoid friction. They seek dopamine hits, easy tasks, and constant distraction. This isn't about intelligence. It's about mental conditioning. Average isn't a life sentence. It's a mental pattern. And if you're willing to break that pattern, you can build a mindset that separates you from the crowd. So in this video, we're going to dive deep. We'll uncover what this mental habit looks like in your daily life. We'll expose the traps it sets. We'll look at how the Stoics dealt with it, how modern science explains it, and how you can kill it before it kills your potential. Because if you can win this one battle, the battle in your mind, everything else starts to change. Your focus sharpens. Your discipline grows. Your actions become deliberate. And slowly, you become the kind of person who doesn't settle for average, because average is no longer an option. Let's begin. Section 1. The enemy you can't see. What mental comfort really is. Mental comfort is not laziness. It's not relaxation. It's the habit of avoiding inner resistance. It's reaching for your phone the moment silence sets in. It's defaulting to distraction when a hard decision arises. It's the internal narrative that says, "I'll start tomorrow," or "This is good enough." This habit forms early, from school systems that reward memorization over curiosity, to jobs that push routine over innovation, to a culture that tells you feeling good is the ultimate goal. We are trained to think just enough to function, not to question, not to grow, not to stretch. What's dangerous is how subtle it is. It disguises itself as normal. You finish your workday and mindlessly scroll for 2 hours. You rationalize procrastination as self-care. You put off the hard conversation because now's not the right time. None of it feels urgent. But over time, it forms a prison. The Stoics had a word for this, akrasia, a weakness of will. Not just doing the wrong thing, but knowing what you should do and still not doing it. Marcus Aurelius warned against being worse than the dancing puppets on a string, pulled by urges and impulses, rather than led by reason. Modern neuroscience backs this up. The brain is designed to conserve energy. It doesn't want to think deeply. It wants shortcuts, patterns, and pleasure. This is efficient for survival, but it's deadly for growth. Every time you choose mental comfort, your brain rewards you with a little dopamine. You feel safe, relaxed. But it's a trap, because what you're really reinforcing is passivity. You're training your mind to avoid pressure, and that means you'll never develop the mental calluses needed for greatness. Section 2. The cost of staying average. People love to talk about the cost of hard work, but almost no one talks about the cost of staying average. The emotional cost, the spiritual cost, the psychological decay that happens when you know you could be more, but you're not. See, staying average doesn't hurt at first. It's comfortable. It's familiar. But slowly, something starts to shift. You wake up a little more tired. You stop setting goals. You lose confidence, not because you failed, but because you never tried. You tell yourself you're just busy, But deep down, you know the truth. The truth is this. Average robs you of your edge. It makes you reactive. It leaves you vulnerable to emotion, opinion, and circumstance. You become easy to manipulate, easy to offend, easy to control, because you haven't built a mind that can stand on its own. You see it all around. People living lives of quiet frustration, drowning in consumption, addicted to distraction, unable to sit alone in silence with their own thoughts. That's not a life. That's survival. The Stoics understood that the untrained mind becomes a prison. Seneca warned, "If you do not know to which port you are sailing, no wind is favorable. Without direction you drift. And when you drift, you become average by default." But here's the thing. Your brain is plastic. It changes based on how you use it. Mental strength is not fixed. It's built. And every time you resist comfort, every time you sit with discomfort and don't run from it, you are rewiring yourself. Section 3. The Breakthrough. How to kill the comfort habit. So how do you kill the habit of mental comfort? You don't do it with motivation. You do it with structure. Practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics trained themselves through cold baths, fasting, silence, solitude. Not because they were masochists, but because they wanted to own their reactions. Today, that might mean turning off your phone for a few hours, waking up early to read, saying no to the easy option. Install mental reps. Just like the body needs physical reps to grow, the mind needs mental reps. Daily writing, solving hard problems, reflecting, thinking, pushing yourself to make decisions instead of deferring them. Set standards, not goals. Most people set goals based on feelings. Stoics set standards based on identity. I do hard things. I face discomfort. I act with reason. Your standards must become the lens through which you act, not your emotions. Audit your environment. Look around. What are you exposing your mind to daily? Is your digital diet full of noise? Are your conversations shallow? Are you surrounding yourself with people who challenge you or coddle you? Change your input, and your output will follow. Create a mindset trigger. Have one sentence that snaps you out of comfort. For example, is this helping me grow or keeping me average? Say it often. Write it down. Let it cut through the fog. This process won't feel glamorous. That's the point. It's not about hype. It's about becoming. Most people will never do this. And that's why most people stay average. Section 4. What happens when you escape average? When you finally escape the grip of average, you begin to notice something most people never do. That life feels different. Quieter. Sharper. More intentional. It's not that the world around you changes. It's that your perception of it evolves. You no longer wake up dreading the day, or sleepwalk through your schedule. You wake up with clarity, even on hard days. Because you're no longer living reactively. You've chosen to live with purpose. Most people are caught in the noise, scrolling, comparing, avoiding. But when you escape average, you stop needing validation from the outside. You don't chase applause or fear judgment. You're no longer a slave to trends or other people's opinions. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. That kind of internal grounding makes you rare. And when you're rare, you become powerful. Not because others say so, but because you are in control of yourself. Escaping average means no longer fearing solitude. You don't need to fill every moment with noise. You welcome silence because in silence you grow. You begin to hear your thoughts clearly. You reflect. You question. You evolve. The average person runs from this stillness because it's uncomfortable. But you lean into it. You use it as fuel. This change also affects how you deal with pain. Most people collapse under hardship because they were never trained to endure. But when you've escaped average, suffering no longer surprises you, it strengthens you. You start seeing setbacks as signals, not sentences. You adopt the Stoic mindset. What happens to you is less important than how you respond to it. You become calm in storms, unshaken in chaos. And perhaps the most noticeable change is in how you use your time. When you're no longer average, every hour matters. Not in a frantic hustle culture way, but in a deliberate, measured way. You stop wasting time on gossip, drama, meaningless entertainment. You stop numbing yourself with distractions. Instead, you build. You learn. You train. You focus on things that matter. You also become harder to manipulate. You don't fall from marketing tricks, emotional guilt, or the illusion of urgency. Your mind becomes your fortress. And when your mind is strong, you're no longer a target. You're a threat, not to others, but to everything that wants to keep you small. And slowly, without realizing it, you start to inspire others. Not by words, but by presence, by example. People notice your discipline, your calm, your depth. They may not understand it, but they'll feel it. You've become something they didn't know was possible. A person who owns their life, not someone who floats through it. This is what happens when you escape average. You stop surviving. You start living. Fully. Intentionally. Stoically. And that's when the real life begins. When you break this habit, something strange begins to happen. The world doesn't change, but your relationship with it does. You start to think for yourself. You respond instead of react. You become harder to manipulate. Your decisions carry weight because they're born from clarity, not chaos. Your confidence doesn't come from likes or praise. It comes from knowing you kept your promises to yourself. Your peace isn't fake positivity. It's real, grounded awareness. Because you faced yourself in silence, and you didn't run. Distractions lose their grip. Emotional outbursts fade. The need to be validated weakens. You become a person of depth, not performance. Of presence, not pretense. Seneca once said, "As is a tale, so is life." Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. A good life isn't made by avoiding discomfort. It's made by leaning into it. That's the paradox. The more resistance you face willingly, the freer you become. And when you live this way long enough, others notice. They ask how you stay so calm. How you make progress when they're stuck. How you lead without yelling. How you stay grounded in chaos. And your answer won't be a hack. It will be a habit. You chose to think when others ran from thinking. You trained when others coasted. You chose the path that didn't give instant reward, but gave long-term transformation. That is the mindset shift that separates the few from the many. And it all starts with killing the habit of mental comfort. Most people will hear this message and nod. They'll feel a spark. Then they'll go back to the same routine. Same distractions. Same comfort. Same average. But not you. Not if you're serious. Not if something inside you is done living on autopilot. This is your moment. Your line in the sand. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start doing what average people avoid. Think harder. Sit longer with tough thoughts. Push your brain. Cut the noise. Choose standards over moods. Take ownership of your inner world. Train the one thing they can't take from you. Your mind. Because once you master that, there is no ceiling. No one can stop you. Not fear. Not opinion. Not failure. You will be calm in storms. Fierce in purpose. Clear in chaos. That is the power of killing the comfort habit. So here's your next step. Do one thing today that makes you uncomfortable. Just one. Then repeat it tomorrow. Then again. Make it your identity. Make it your edge. And when you feel the pull of average, remember this. Average is a comfort that costs everything. Greatness is a discomfort that gives everything. Choose discomfort. Choose clarity. Choose growth. Choose to rise.